I think this could be it. I was introduced to Doug by my friend Aquachigger. He had an interesting story. It was about Lee's army in retreat from Gettysburg. There were some of his soldiers passed away in this church. They didn't have time to bury them, so they left them. The Union Army came through within a few hours to a day later, and a Union officer offered a farmer right here to my left money to bury the Confederate soldiers. An act of respect, I guess, for a mutual warrior, even though they were on different sides of the conflict. The officer offered him $2 per soldier to bury him, but when he went back to get the money, he wasn't able to get the $2. He was only able to offer him $1. Well, the farmer had already buried about 16 to 18 of the soldiers, is that correct? And they're right behind us right here in this row. The rest of the soldiers, we don't know exactly how many. We suspect there were numerous. They were placed in a well because the farmer decided he wasn't going to bury the rest of them for $1. And that well was capped off because the water couldn't be used anymore. Today, we're in search of that well to find the final resting spot for those soldiers. And hopefully it'll be marked so that it's not disturbed. Doug, tell us a little bit more about how you learned about the story.
I taught here at this school for 20 years at Broadfording Christian Academy, and I made friends with Dick Nybert, who lived in the house over here, and he told me the story. This was his great-great-grandfather lived in a house right on the corner there, and he told me the story about these soldiers being here, and he always looked out over these graves and sort of was protective of them. And he was never able to find the well out here. Unfortunately, Dick passed away a few years ago, but I sort of caught the vision of trying to find that space and mark it so that, as you say, it would never be disturbed and they'd be able to rest in peace.
We're going to take the ground penetrating radar. We're going to go over this space we think is right here behind the camera, and we're going to see if we can find that well. And we're also going to see if we can mark the other rows where those soldiers were buried as well. Let's get started and see if we can find them. And something there. So I think what I'm going to do is change up. So we're running east to west, essentially, more or less east to west. If we're looking for graves, we'll usually start out running north to south. That way we go across them multiple times and we can line out the length of them. Because we were looking for the well, I just started here. Considering we've already, and we know in graveyards that there's often unmarked graves, and I think I just ran across a very shallow unmarked grave right here, or at least a ground disturbance. So I think we're going to change it up and do it like we normally do with graveyards and run north to south. So let's come on down to the other end and start down there along that hedgerow.
Okay.
All right, that's something, but it's not very wide. Goes from there to there. That could just be a root or something. So Doug was telling me that they moved some soil here too, so we're a little worried that that could be, the well could be pushed. We're not exact. So normally we would grid this, and it may be to a point where we come back and literally grid this with lines. And I'm seeing stuff, but I'm not seeing anything that jumps out at me. All right, guys, so we've got a target here. It's as wide as from here to here, close. This is what we're looking at, and it fades on down, you know, probably past where the radar can see inside of this clay. I think this could be it. This is the best signal we've seen so far. Those small row of stones right here is where the farmer quit burying them that we know of. And I went across this area too, and I think he actually buried them in a trench here. So it's not that far away. Now there's other anomalies that we flagged here too, but right now, this is the best thing that I've seen. Doug, I think we're gonna come back across it, but I think we've got a good candidate right here.
I got a good feeling.
Yeah. All right, so we'll let you guys know. We'll check back in. We're gonna keep running the radar. Obviously, we're gonna check the rest of the area back towards my truck there just to make sure. But right now, this is looking really good. All right, so we come back across. I think this may be the well. So on this end, as we come back across, I think we're skirting the edge of it right there, I think. And we'll come back again east-west. We're running north-south, north-south. And then we'll run to the east and the west. So we'll check and just see if this is really it or not. But right now, it's the best candidate we've got, so let's keep going. So right here in front of us, this circle, and it's not exact circle, but it's close because we're coming off of, you know, right angles here. So this is where I think the best candidate is for the well. It goes down deeper, as deep as our radar will punch in red clay. We've got another one over there on the wood line, but it doesn't go as deep, and I think that's going to just be a tree ball there, tree root system, or is it maybe a large oak tree, and again, it's right on the wood line too. So I think, and this is right off of the line where the soldiers were buried. This is the general area.
This is the general area that
where
this is the general area that Dick pointed to when we were standing over there. So
okay,
there was, I think, a bit of a guess on his part, because I don't think this has been seen in living memory, his or mine.
Right,
so,
right.
But yeah, if we can do a little exploring.
Yeah, so what we're gonna do, Aquachigger just got here, and he's gonna bring the probe out. We're gonna probe down and see if we can start hitting some of those stones. And that would be a really good sign if we start hitting that stone from the stone lining. So we'll get started. We'll probe that here in a few minutes, and we're going to look at some other targets and see if we can identify some unmarked graves maybe while we're here too. We're going across where the soldiers were, and there's where I think the trench kind of starts, is actually back here, almost to that other grave. They almost started that trench into this other grave. And so you can see the disturbance. And he, like I say, he dug that a lot deeper than I thought. See those? And like I say, this is
so
probably just the body.
Well defined, that, like
so,
that, and that's all kind of looks fuzzy.
So I would suspect just because they just laid the body in there, and when you have that casket in there, you've got more of an area that's going to have to collapse, and that's going to change the soil a lot more. So these would be very hard to pick out. You're basically just going to be looking for that trench wall to fade out here. And see there's one, and we might be hitting a buckle or something right there. See how that's more of a good peak there.
I think that could be metal of some sort.
Could be, yeah. All right, you see that really light gray right there? I think the trench wall probably ends about right here. I'm gonna go ahead and mark this, Doug. I think that trench line actually ends right there. You know, like that. That's what it looks like to me. Yep, that's the end. That's the end of the trench line. It's very light. And I mean, that's, you know.
Now I noticed there's a big V there.
Mm-hmm.
Going up each side, kind of like when you first
right.
came in.
Right.
Is that like?
So that's that was where we were coming out, or where we were coming into it, and then coming out of it there. Like I say, these are very hard to spot. If I rolled over this in open field, I might miss those. Yeah. I mean, they're easily, that's very easily missed.
Yeah.
But
how about if they're shallow, really, like?
You know,
24 inches, like, am I wrong?
no, I think.
Could you pick one up like?
So, oh yeah, but the problem is you have to then determine that in the ground disturbance here, and so I think they're buried, you know, between that 3 and 4 foot range, really. You know, there's 3 foot 7 inches right here, and there is 5 foot. So I'm going to say about 4 foot right there. And then, like I say, that's where we come into the trench. And then I think where we're going out, and I don't know if the camera can see that because that's very light, very, very light. I think part of it's when they moved this dirt here, they probably disturbed a little bit of it.
So, you think this is where we're coming in?
This is where we're coming in.
So that's
here.
like that side. So
Yeah.
why does it? Is that?
It's just
that,
for whatever reason it's not as defined, and
no, I
it
mean,
could be.
Is that the same type of like arch? On
Yeah,
this side?
yeah, it's just the other side
So
of
you
it.
think
Yeah,
that arch right there?
right, right.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. So I think they really probably almost got into that other grave, just a little bit. I think it's just because see, it's real close to that other stone.
So what would something like that?
Usually the metal targets will give you more of a triangular shape, or at least a more of a bow like
Maybe
that.
a light music.
Yeah, no, that actually helps. Oh, look right there. I think we're coming into the trench right there. Look, you see it? All right, then we saw it close to the trench a little bit.
It was all that like stuff down deeper, like.
Yeah, yeah,
disturbance, you think, or?
yeah. All right, so that's those look like separate graves. And they are shallow. 3 feet, there's 1, there's 2, we're starting into a 3rd. And I think we're closing out there. I can't tell if those are just, they almost look like individual graves, but
There's a pattern, that's for sure.
it looks like, I'm not going to say how many, it looks like 3 here,
Okay.
but it could just be a trench too.
Yeah.
I mean, there's clearly, there clearly is, I would flag this area, there's clearly disturbance here in this ground.
So why is this?
Guys, so we have flagged out 2 areas that we think very well could be the well, as what he described. Now you said, Doug, it was rock lined, you think,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So this is the most likely spot right here. And if you'll pan over, that is one line of the trench where the soldiers were buried, and you can see the 3 flags there. That's the actual ending of the trench. And we've got one place over on the wood line that we flagged off. And we think that that's probably going to be a tree, but we're going to leave the flags there and they're going to take a look at it. Doug's going to be working to see if we can confirm for sure this is the well. And if so, I think Aquachigger and I are going to come back out and hopefully be a part of that.
I'd love to
That would
have
be
you.
excellent.
Oh,
Yeah,
I really
absolutely.
enjoy that.
That would be
If
wonderful.
you know, if we can confirm this is gonna really put something down in the history books here in this
Exactly.
area.
Yeah, absolutely.
Doug, I can't thank you enough, and Bo, thanks for calling us and having us come up from Alabama. So make the short trip to Maryland.
Well,
All right, guys, if you guys aren't already following Aquachigger, I'm sure you probably are on YouTube, and he is on Facebook also. Y'all check him out. Thanks again for having us up, and we'll see you guys in the next video.